wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is a rainy Tuesday here in Toronto, so I had to put some additional lights on. It's a little bit dark back here, but hopefully my shirt is spreading some light for you this morning. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey here, founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the Blended podcast and founder of the Blended Pledge as well. And we've got a great show coming up for you today. I've got Heath from Fastenal here with me. And before we get started, let's hear from our show sponsors. So say you're at work and all the lights flicker and then go out. You try to move and bump into something. You turn and bump into something else. You just can't work like this. You need to be able to see what's happening. Well, this is how your inventory feels. Fastenal has unique inventory solutions that sends data to the cloud and helps you avoid stockouts while not carrying excess inventory. Don't stay in the dark. Let Fastenal shine a light on the parts and supplies that keep your businesses running. Go to fastenal.com/LTSC to see how they do it. And we're going to talk more about inventory with Heath in just a minute. Let's talk about what's happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new episode out there, episode 376, and it's called See the Future of Your Supply Chain with OptiLogic. Now, I had a great conversation talking about supply chain orchestration, supply chain design, as well as talking about Cosmic Frog. And if you want to know what Cosmic Frog is, you're going to have to go and listen to this episode and find out, but it has to do with OptiLogic and how they are making an impact in the industry. So go and check it out wherever you listen to the show. Now, Friday, we have a brand new live show coming up with Hope Allen, Hope White, no bullshipping, and I can't wait. They're going to be talking about veterans supporting supply chain. Now, huge topic, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us. We also have a brand new episode of Blended that just came out last week. It's episode 38. Did they just say that? The truth about microaggressions. Now, this is a great episode. We really dove deep into what really is a microaggression? What does it mean? How do we navigate it? How does it make people feel? So go and check that out. You can actually check it out on Let's Talk Supply Chain wherever you listen to the show. Or we have a special track for Blended. It's got its own Apple and Spotify. So go and check it out there as well. Next, we've got the Secret Society of Supply Chain. Invest in yourself. Now, we have a community for everyone. I know you've been listening to me talk about this. We've got the Supply Chainers. It's $10,000 worth of value for only $175 a year. And these are just exclusive tidbits, best practices from some of the top leaders in the industry. Then we've got our monthly virtual meetup for women in supply chain. That's $35,000 worth of value for $2,200 a year. And Katie Date is one of the facilitators. Then we've got the Creative Room specifically for marketing professionals in supply chain. $60,000 worth of value for $6,500. And we have a Black Friday sale coming out. So if you are not on our list, you definitely need to be so that you are part of that announcement. Next, I don't know if you saw this, but I had the opportunity after 9 trips in 10 weeks, I decided to take an evening at the Alpaca Treehouse. And what an amazing experience. In this post, I talk about how we need to celebrate our wins. We need to celebrate our hard work. And that's what I did with this. Now, this was featured on Amazing Vacation Rentals on Netflix. And ever since I saw it there, I wanted to go and stay there, see what it was like. And let me tell you, it was quite the experience. And so just wanted to share that with all of you. I think the link is in the comments right now. You can go and check out the full video. Anyways, now it's time to bring up our guest for today. Good morning, Heath. How are you?
I'm doing well, Sarah. And I do apologize. Ran into some IT issues this morning, so I had to be a little bit agile and nimble and try to utilize my phone for today's podcast. So I do apologize.
No, there's nothing to apologize. And let me tell you, we're supply chainers, so we're problem solvers. And look at what you did. This is awesome. We're just glad that you could be here with us. So why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Heath Hazard, I've been with Fastenal for 26 years now. I'm based out of what is typically lovely today. Sounds like much like where you're at, very rainy, Medina, Ohio. I currently serve as Vice President of Sales over our consultant team, which here at Fastenal we refer to by the acronym CSC, which stands for Customer Solutions Consultant, which is a team, a department that I had the opportunity to start back up in January of 2020. So our consultant team, their mission is to really work with the key decision makers at a local site, all with the goal of building strategic partnerships. And the way they go about building these strategic partnerships is really just by learning and understanding what the goals and the supply chain challenges are that are being faced at the local site, and then collaborating and working with the customer to create a customized program really to address those challenges, to create value, and ultimately just help promote a culture of operational excellence.
Yeah, and we see Fastenal all over the place here in Canada as well as the US. You have different storefronts and different distribution facilities. And so it's great to have you on the show so we can ask you all the questions and learn a little bit more about what you do and why we see the signs everywhere. But it sounds like you really work closely with your customers. And that's why you do have all of those locations close to your customers. And we're going to talk about regionality just in a little bit. Now, I want to say hi to Angela, Alahi, Mikhailo, and Ahmed over on my personal LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's get to the poll of the week. Now, we ask everybody a question every single Wednesday morning on our LinkedIn and our Instagram. And so the question we asked you last week, what does success mean to you? Now, 49% of you said financial independence, 37% of you said pursuing your passions, 11% of you said career achievement, and 2% said other and commented below. Now, Heath, looking at this, what does success mean to you? And was this kind of surprising?
I don't know that it's necessarily surprising, Sarah, because I think that ultimately success is going to be different for everyone. For me, I'm a very goal and results oriented individual. For me, I define success really as achieving your goals, because to me, your goals are the destinations that you're working towards. And I'm just not the type of person, if I'm going to go on a journey somewhere, I'm just going to get in the vehicle and drive without having a destination I want to work towards. So for me, it's achieving my goals. But one of the things through, I guess, self-awareness over the last few years that I've realized is it's also about just making sure that you're enjoying that journey along the way, because I think that a lot of the roadblocks, the challenges, the life lessons that you learned throughout that journey is what ultimately is going to lead to growth and continued success. So that's how I personally define success.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's all about the destination or the journey, not necessarily the destination. And you do have to enjoy what you're doing. And I think success can come in a lot of different forms, right? And there's a lot of fulfillment, right? From personal and professional parts of your life. And, a lot of people might say that balance, right? Having some sort of balance each day could be a success. Some people, like 49%, said financial, right? That is really success for them, but really defining what that looks like. Like, is it $1 million? Is it $5 million? What does that look like? And so I think definition and really getting clear on what that looks like is also part of that journey and part of that success as well. Well, thank you so much to everybody who weighed in on the question of the week. We had some really great comments on there as well. All right, Heath, let's talk about a bit of a market update. What's happening in the world of inventory? Now, I've been having a lot of conversations around inventory management as of late. And a lot of it has to do around supply chain orchestration, supply chain planning, and those kind of words are starting to come up. They're starting to be some of the buzzwords outside of visibility that we're hearing a little bit more. So what are you hearing from customers? What are people focused on right now? What should we be thinking about when it comes to inventory management moving into 2024?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most common themes that we're hearing about is it's data. And some of that is visibility, but it's also, I think for a lot of organizations, just they're looking for data points because those data points are what is going to allow them to set a benchmark to be able to then figure out, are they making an impact? Are programs and services that they are partnering with folks on, are they helping drive continuous improvement and create value? So I think that data has been talked about a lot. We're still hearing a lot of organizations that they're fighting the battle on, running lean. However, also, having enough inventory on hand. So when that happens, obviously words like hoarding and overconsumption start to come into play. I think a lot of companies also, the reason that they're looking at data or kind of digitizing their supply chain is just they know that there's a lot of processes that are still too manual, and there's best in class practices out there that they could be capitalizing on that they're not today.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. I want to ask you about that because prior to the pandemic, we were hearing a lot about just in time. During the pandemic, I feel like we were hearing more about just in case. And now coming out of the pandemic, I feel like it's a bit of a hybrid approach, or that we're just not sure where we're going to land between just in time and just in case. Are you hearing the same thing? What are your customers thinking?
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the words that you used earlier when talking about how people define success. It's about balance. People are trying to find that balance. And I think that the disruptions that many of our supply chains have gone through over the last few years, it has people searching for what is that proper balance, because they're looking at their business through the lens of the current state and how it is today, but they're also trying to anticipate what that next disruption is going to be and how they're going to have to adjust accordingly. So I do think that a big part of it is balance.
Balance. I think that's the word for today, isn't it, Heath?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think also hybrid is the word after pandemic too. We're talking about hybrid when it comes to, working remotely and going into the office. We're talking about hybrid between just in case and just in time for our inventory as well. So I think, we're coming up with some new buzzwords here, Heath.
We all need them.
That's right. All right, let's get to our first article. Now, this comes straight from Fastenal, and it talks about how to get started with industrial vending. Now, before we get into talking about this, Heath, can you give us a bit of a high-level overview as to what this particular part, the industrial vending, is for Fastenal, and what do vending machines do to help with inventory management?
Yeah. So ultimately, one of our goals at Fastenal is we're looking to build strategic partnerships with the clients that we engage in. And so in doing so, we have to understand what are the goals of your supply chain, what are the current challenges that are being faced within your supply chain. And once we have an understanding of that, we then are able to recommend programs and solutions. And it's not a one size fits all approach. So for us, once we understand what is needed to build the program, that's where industrial vending is typically going to be one of those solutions. And we've got numerous styles of vending machines just based on depending on what you're looking to do within your supply chain, whether it's you're looking to have help managing parts, whether it's controlling parts. We have different solutions that we can offer, but ultimately all vending machines are helping us create those data points that I referenced earlier. And those data points now help us understand where we can make an impact and help drive value. And it also sets a baseline for us to be able to measure continuous improvement once we do so. So whether that's, eliminating waste, whether it's, reducing walk and wait time of your employees within the facility, it's reducing stockouts, it's making sure that you don't have too much inventory or that you have enough inventory. Vending operates as a tool that creates data points to empower us to be able to make those decisions on how we can help strengthen the supply chain.
And what about, I have a question about, and if anybody has any questions for Heath, now is the time to put it in the comments so that we can get to those. But I have a question around security. Does it help with security? Because I know that's kind of a bit of a concern, especially when we think about products and we think about goods and we think about inventory.
Yeah, if you're looking at it through the lens of security and making sure that product isn't growing legs and walking off inside your facility, it definitely has, most of the machines out there have the ability to do that. We've got the ability with our machines to create restrictions. People don't have to create restrictions if they don't want to, but it has the ability to, and there's a couple different types of restrictions that it can create. It can be like a go, no-go gauge where, perhaps Sarah, you have access to a pair of gloves or whatever the commodity is, but I do not. Or you can also create restrictions and implement some control by saying that based on the role you're performing within this facility, maybe you have access to 2 pairs of, again, let's say a glove or whatever the item is per shift, per week, per month, whereas maybe because of the nature of my role, I've got unlimited access. So there's a lot of different controls that you can put in place there.
Yeah. And I guess the reason why I asked that too is, how customizable is it? Everybody loves working with strategic partners that can customize it to what they need. And it sounds like it is. Now, one of the things that I liked about this article as well is I talk about this a lot. What are the key questions that we should be asking strategic partners, that we should be asking those solutions that we're looking into? And this dives really deep into the questions that you should be asking yourself prior to getting engaged with a strategic partner, during the strategic partnership process, and then what you should be asking yourself after you decide to go with that strategic partner. And there's about 30 questions that you can really go through and ask your teams when you're looking at, inventory management or even looking at implementing a technology solution somewhere else in your business as well, right?
Absolutely. No, and I think it really all just begins with understanding what it is you're looking to accomplish within your supply chain. You have to identify that first, because at the end of the day, a supplier is not going to be able to create the value you need if either A, you don't understand what it is that you're looking to address, or B, you're not inviting them in to help you assess what that is.
Well, and I think also having everybody understand what success, going back to that poll, what success actually means versus failure versus continuous improvement or learning, right? So that we don't have these crazy expectations either from a team level, a leadership level, or even from a partner level. That maybe, if we don't hit this, the partner might feel like, oh, this is a failure, but the client might feel like it's a continuous improvement or learning opportunity as well. And so we got to be on the same pages about what success looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think we're typically going to create the most value for each other when we're working for those win-win scenarios.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to our second article. Now, this is from 0100, and I met, I think, one of the co founders just a couple of weeks ago in San Francisco. And when I saw this article, they talk about mega trends driving supply chains into 2024, but they talk about it from a completely different kind of angle. So they talk about how the term supply chain has doubled in mentions at the board level, which is crazy. We all know that supply chains, the word supply chains, has been used more in the public eye as well, but also at the board level, which I thought was pretty interesting. Now, the first key point that they make is digitization for customer problem solving. So they're saying that digital transformation is less about accelerating the investment in technology and more about targeting solutions at specific customer problems. And they give us a really great example with Walmart and their digital experimentation. So I highly recommend that you check that out. Now, the second point that they talk about is regionalization for resilience. So they're talking about before how we built supply chains for lowest costs. Now we're moving towards regional to be resilient. We're building supply chains for resilience by being regional. And last but not least, they talk about regenerative business planning. And they talk about, in an example with Microsoft, how building in regenerative business planning has actually made their supply chain agility off the charts. So I highly recommend you go and check out this article and look at some of the examples that they're talking about. Heath, what did you think about this? I mean, when we think about Fastenal, we think about regional. I mean, that is what we've been talking about is how you've positioned yourselves close to the customer and how you're able to help your customers be regional as well. So talk to us about what you think about this article.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love the article, and I'm glad that you just shared it with me, Sarah. It really got my wheels turning. And when I sat and looked at each of the 3 points, talking about the digitizing for customer problem solving, I absolutely love that, because the way I look at it is everybody's supply chain is faced with different challenges. And just as we're faced with different challenges, our solutions need to be just as unique as those challenges themselves. And that's critical, because at the end of the day, it's all about the customer experience. It's about what value are we creating for your supply chain when we partner with you. And I know here at Fastenal, we call that really creating a digital footprint within the supply chain to help drive operational efficiencies. And we leverage technology like we just discussed with vending oftentimes to do that, to really create data, to have analytics to help us do that. And that's where then we can help improve processes. We can help connect or interconnect, I guess I should say, systems. And we can empower your employees to be able to visualize and then ultimately impact creating value for the end users, and then focus on continuous improvement. So I think when you think about transitioning that into the regionalization of things for resiliency, yeah, no, at Fastenal, that's what our approach is. We want to be as close to our clients as possible. That's why we've got so many branch locations. That's why we have regional distribution centers. And that's why ultimately, one of the pinnacle programs or solutions that we offer to our clients is what we call an on-site program, where we actually physically open up a location within their facility just to service their needs. Also, when you look at the vending we just discussed, all these things are designed. How do we remove risk from your supply chain by getting product as close to the point of use where it's going to be utilized? So I think that's fantastic. And I think the third point, when it was talking about kind of talent transformation for margin protection, what I really liked about that is if you're leveraging these things from your supplier, you're now empowering your people to be able to focus on what they need to be doing more of, what is going to be not only helping drive profits in the bottom line for your organization, but also too, it's going to give them a sense of empowerment. We all want to belong, and we all want to see the impact that we're making. And I think it empowers us to be able to do that. And I know for us, that was one of the reasons why, again, we really created our department was because we wanted to help keep our customers, give them a reason to be loyal to Fastenal by starting to turn some of our sales reps into consultants that were focused on creating value. And if we're working with our clients to help them protect their margins and their profits by lowering their total cost of ownership, then, we really needed to do the same thing. So by making these moves, we've been able to help drive employee retention. We've been able to help drive job satisfaction just through role specialization and having folks really bringing focus and consistency to what they're doing and creating value for the end user.
Those are two really key points, especially when we talk about talent. We talk about talent in supply chain. How are we retaining them? Right? How are we bringing that job satisfaction? And if the partner and the solution that we're working with can empower a variety of different things within our business or our supply chains, that makes it that much more powerful. So I'm glad that you said that. Another thing that this article talked about before we go to the next one is how you can group AI, climate change, China, unions, aging population, and BRICS all under these three categories. But at the end of the day, what they said was keep it simple. Keep it as simple as you possibly can when you're talking to your teams, when you're talking to your board, when you're talking to other departments within your organization. Keep it simple because that's what's going to drive the innovation forward, is what they were talking about. All right. So our last article is talking about commitment, continuous improvement, and communication, the 3 C's of strong supply chains. Now, you've mentioned continuous improvement a few times. And
Yes.
while I was reading through this particular article, continuous improvement to me was like, it's the journey, not the destination, like we were talking about a little bit earlier in this conversation. But it also talks about sitting in the uncomfortable. Innovation is about sitting in the uncomfortable and having the conversations that are a safe space for us to be able to throw out ideas and see what's going to work and what's not going to work. It's one of the things that I spoke to Tudor about in our latest Wise Tech mini series. And he had a great point about it, because if we sit in that uncomfortable and we have the hard conversations, that's where we're going to drive that continuous improvement and innovation and drive our supply chains forward. So talk to us about these 3 C's.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think ultimately at the end of the day, a lot of times people focus on the tools and the technology that they can leverage, which is absolutely critical and important. But to me, there's a foundation beneath that everybody's in 100% control of, and that's going to be the mindset that they have going into it and the actions that they're going to take. So that's really what the 3 C's of strong supply chains are. It's something I've preached for quite a while now, is just strategic partnerships are the cornerstone of a healthy supply chain. And to me, the 3 pillars that support that partnership are commitment, communication, and continuous improvement. So those are the 3 C's. And again, this is something that everyone is 100% control of, but you can have all the tools, the technology, even the partners that you're working with that are the best of the best. But if you're not cognizant about these 3 areas, you're destined to fail, because you have to be committed to one another. We have to be transparent with one another, have an open line of communication. And we need to be, again, partnering with someone that is going to be focused on creating win-win situations, because otherwise, to your point, Sarah, we're never going to have the ability to continue to grow and get better. And I see too often, it feels like we still have a me versus you dynamic out there. And I think that, again, if the disruption over the last few years has taught us anything, it's that the shortest supply chain is going to win, not the cheapest supply chain. And the only way we're ever going to be able to truly accomplish that is if we employ these 3 C's and we're willing to commit, we're willing to have a clear and open line of communication, and we're willing to also partner together on continuous improvement. Because again, we're typically, if we're throwing a dart at the dartboard, we're probably not going to hit the bullseye on the first throw every single time. So we got to be committed on that journey together and continuing to make each other's companies better and to improve the overall supply chain.
Yeah, and the everyday lives of all the supply chainers that are out there. Now, one of the things that I also liked is in the commitment part, you talked about being very clear on your why. The commitment means to be clear on the why and communicating that to everybody so everybody understands why they're doing the things that they're doing on a daily basis. All right. So to end this, just want to let you know where I'm going to be coming up. Now, I have finished all of my in-person events for the rest of 2023, but you will see me at Manifest February 5th through 7th in Las Vegas. I know there's a lot of you coming to that event. Hopefully I'll see you there. And it's going to be great. There's going to be a lot of technology companies, a lot of shippers, a lot of people within the industry coming together to talk about the future of supply chain. All right, Heath, thank you so much for joining me today. And to everybody at home, thank you for joining us today. I will see you next Tuesday. And I've got Beacon Technologies joining me for that one. Heath, thanks so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.